Good afternoon, everybody. Happy to see you here and happy to see some of you that I know already, which is comforting to see my clients back. So see that they are curious to see me again. So that's a good thing. What comes to my mind is, obviously, it's a very, what comes to my mind, it's a song with, anyway, so the song says, "Here we go again." If you can tell me who the song is, it's beautiful. Here we go again. And the "here we go again" is that we start, it's September, and we will start again the competitions, or we continue the competitions, or we do our best to finish in beauty the competitions we have. So this is the moment in which we are. And I'm happy to accompany you in this, let's say, new beginning. Obviously the purpose of today, let's say, I would rather call it talk, you know, it's just an informal meeting. We see, you ask questions, by the way, Dumi will take the questions, right, if you don't mind, so I could concentrate, because otherwise I'm afraid that I won't be able to follow the two things, even though I'm supposed to, right? Girls are supposed to follow many things in the same time, but sometimes it's better to be sure that you are two to do the job. So the first thing is that I would like to take you through EPSO competition, even though some of you, I suppose, that have been there. So here you go again. But if you are here, probably that you have done it or you have tried to do it, but it didn't work well. So now I would say probably you are decided to do it well this time and to be much more serious and to be much more, how to say, committed and responsible in your preparation. And I hope that you are, because in this way I could help you. This morning I was coaching one client, head of, so he's a deputy head of unit, but he goes for a head of unit position. And he used to say, you know, in the way you told me, I said, no. We are creating together whatever solution we have to find for your competition, for your, let's say, interviews, for your assessment centers and so. So this is the same story I'm telling you, right? I'm here to help, I'm here to support, but in order me to support, you have to carry the baby, right? You have to carry the baby, and when you are ready to deliver, then I will be there to assist, and I will encourage you, and I will support you, and I will give you my best knowledge. But it's your baby, and you will deliver it. Am I clear, right? I cannot do more than what I'm doing. Good. Diana, show your pretty face, and Christina, look, I have people that I know, so at least they should show off. Good. So you see, my point is that this is the perspective in which you have to look at your EPSO competition, selection process, cast competition, whatever selection, whatever selection you have in your mind, right? Or hopefully on your plate. The first and primary and I would say paramount responsibility is yours, right? Then if, and I think that yes, I can help you, then it's great, but you are in the driving seat. And that's fundamentals so that you know how you will, how to say, how you will engage in it, right? Engage as an adult. That means with a lot of responsibility, with a lot of serious, get all the resources possible, but you are in the driving seat. And in fact, whenever I have, and I have a lot, private sessions, my first question always is, what is that you want us to do today, right? So then my client said, but I think that you will decide that, you know, I said, no. I'm here to help, right? So I could suggest you what would be good for your exam, but you take the decision, right? So that's a very important Again, the same perspective, you're in the driving seat and I'm there to support. Good. So now let's see, how can I support? We start with the beginning of the story, and some of my clients know because they have been there already. The first thing is I would like to rewrite the best we can your documents, which means number one, the CV. And believe me, I'm writing the CVs for the AD16 Director General level, right? So don't be ashamed or annoyed or how to say that you have to rewrite the CV. I'm telling you that all the level from the AST1 to the AD16, they rewrite the CVs, right? So we do the best we can so that the CV has or says the best things that we can about you. So this is the first thing we do together. Second thing we do together is the 4 questions of the application. You know, why your education is essential or relevant and blah, blah, blah. The ones who have been there know what I'm talking about. The ones who do not know, just write down the 4 questions. And then you will know when we get there, you'll know that these are the things that we have to prepare together and to write properly. So 2 documents. If you go for an AD6, 7, and obviously higher than that, you will have a talent screener, right? So in fact, is not even if you go for an 86 or so, but if you have professional experience, that means 5 years professional experience, then yes, they will ask you for a talent screener. Now, the talent screener is another document where we have to present your professional experience, which is, the difference is that in the CV, you write what you think. In the talent screener, you have to respond to questions. Makes sense? So that's a very different thing. In the CV, you could write, oh, I've done whatever, salsa. Good. But in the talent screener, they will ask, have you done Cuban salsa or have you done New York style? And then if you have done New York style, how many years? And which schools and blah, blah, blah. You see, so it's a different way of questioning about the professional experience that it might be you have said it in the CV, but probably not exactly directly to their interest. So the talent screener ensures that you will respond to the questions which are very precise, very directed to the professional experience. So hopefully they can evaluate by the same measure the candidates. So that's the essence of the talent screener. So with that, we are at 3 documents, right? CV, the 4 questions, which is the motivation questions, and the talent screener for the ones having professional experience. Good. With that, you have the application, right? With that, you can apply, and here it's a very important point. You can apply with these documents for the EPSO competition, and you can apply for the agencies, and you can apply for whatever international organizations or private companies. The documents are very similar in the world today. So once we have done this, there is a kind of a process of, let's say, transformation, or not even translation into other documents across the world. So don't worry, do them once, I say professionally, right? High quality. And then it's quite easy to turn them into another application form for another institutional company, right? But in any case, in the EU system, these are the documents, exactly the documents that you could reuse, recycle again and again. And just how to say, a comment, a light comment. My clients are staying with me for years, so I don't know whether it's a good sign or bad sign, but anyway, that's the reality. So I was having a client after some years, and she said, well, I'm back because now I would like to go for a head of unit position. I said, okay, let's rewrite the CV. I go check the CV. I said, well, it's very well written, except for the last job. And then my client started to laugh and she said, well, the CV is the one that we wrote together when I applied for the 85. And the last job is the one that I put in. So the only thing we had to change in her CV was the last job. So to write, let's say, according to my criteria, and then the rest of the CV was there after 5 years. So she went there. And now I have, on Monday, I will have another client, and we prepare together the AD10 and the AD12 and the head of unit position. Now he comes back for the director position. And I suppose that I will have the same story. I will have to write only the last job because all the rest of the documents are done together when he was doing the other competitions. So that is to say that you will recycle these documents for years with some small adjustment about your last jobs. So we finish with the entrance, let's say, document, right? And with the documents we finished. That is, now it's starting the process of selection. And again, here it's important for you to keep in mind that a selection process, EPSO, mainly I'm talking about the big EXO competitions, because a selection process for a contractual agent or interim mayor or something like that, they take whatever 2-3 weeks, 1 month, right? So this is easy. Well, kind of, right? We'll come back on the difficulty, but an EPSO competition will take about 1 year. Not to mention now with Corona, it takes 2 years, right? Until they came out, some of them. So why is that important? Is that it's important for you to be ready emotionally to sustain the effort, right? It's an effort for 1 year. So hopefully you have a job because you have to sustain yourself financially. And hopefully you have, I don't know what arrangements at home so that you have the time and the energy next to your job to prepare the competition, right? So it's important to have that in mind. That is a long-term effort. And you enter these, you know, it's a marathon kind, and you enter it with that perspective in mind that it's long, will take a year, right? So organize yourself in a manner, so get some planning, organization, prioritization in your life so that you have something like 1 hour a day throughout 1 year. Might be more, we don't know, that depends obviously of so many conditions, but I would say that a minimum is 1 hour a day. And you have to sustain that for the year, right? And then obviously when the exams come closer, probably will be even, how to say that? Stress, yeah, you will be more stressed, but you will feel the pressure of preparing even more, even better. So then, the time that I said 1 hour could become 2 and 3, it could become a whole weekend and so on. But let's say for the moment, think about the 1 year preparation, 1 hour a day, next to whatever other duties you have in your life. Now, having said so, right, obviously I have young clients, 25 years old, they passed the competition. Okay, they had a job, but except the job, they didn't have anything, serious and heavy to do. But on the other extreme, I have in mind a client, I think that she was working in a private company, which is not easy, could you imagine? And so she was working in a private company, and the husband was working, and they were having 4 kids. And she prepared the competition, and she passed the competition, right? So you see, so there are tough situations, but still I have seen people passing competition in very dense, let's say, tight work and professional situations. So it is possible. Now, so we are talking about 1 year preparation and what might be the exams, right? So the first, I would say in almost every is a CBT, right? Computer-based test. And for the ones who have questions about, let me see, no. For the ones who have questions, what is the language to choose, right? If you have possibility to choose, then I would say take the CBT in languages that are, let's say, passive, and keep the strong language, the active language for the assessment center. Makes sense what I'm saying? So, and don't, what do I call that? You know, don't stay stuck with your mother tongue if you can, right? Now, if you have only the mother tongue plus English, there is no much choice, right? You have to go in CBT in the mother tongue, you have to take English for the assessment center. Okay, that's simple. But if ever you have other languages, more languages, you have another French or you have a Spanish or whatever, then think about the organization of the two languages so that the strong language, the active language you keep for the assessment center, and the passive language, which is a little bit less than, you could use it for the CBT, right? And I would say, as much as you can, stay in French, English, and German, as much as you can. Sometimes there is no choice, but if you can, that will be easier because probably, apparently, the quality of the text is better, of the text, of the test is better. So would be easier in the sense that you can understand better what they are saying. But as I said, if you have the choice. Now, so this is the CBT. Okay, we move beyond sometimes it's before, it will be an MCQ, right? The MCQ is, I think, I mean, all the stages that I give you now, obviously, I offer them in trainings. And obviously, they are on the website. And obviously, Dumi is correct. They are on the Facebook, our Facebook page. So they are all announced, right? You are informed about. So I just go through them, but if you want to find them, you know where to find them. So the MCQ, I have one in about 10 days, I think, for the 85 law. It's a specific exam where you have to say yes, no, for about 40 questions, right? So the preparation is very specific, and that's why I do a training, a masterclass specifically for the MCQ, in the sense, how do you prepare an MCQ? Because it's another way to prepare an MCQ than to prepare a field interview, or than to prepare a written, or to prepare a case study. It's another pair of hands. So that's possible. And the MCQ is obviously in the domain of competence, checking facts and figures, dates, and so on. Then if it's a general competition, you might have an e-trade. I don't know yet. So when the competition comes and when it's an e-trade asked for or requested, then obviously I will offer the training in e-trade. Then we go for the assessment center. Now, the assessment center might, in the past, they could organize it in one day. So you go in the morning and you come out in the evening and you have done everything once. But lately there is, I'm not yet sure to call it tendency, but it happened already in 2 or 3 exams that they had first, I don't know, written test, then case study, then interview, then another interview. So if that is a tendency, then you have to accept, or to not accept, you have no choice to accept, but to expect to have something like 2, 3, 4, 6 months of assessment center with one test here and there. Anyway, as we said, if this is the reality, there is no comment. You just go with that reality. So what are the tests of the assessment center? The fundamental, the staple of the assessment center is number one, case study. I will have, if ever you are interested, this Saturday, I have a case study training, a masterclass in case study, and it's referred to all the competitions that will embrace the case study in the future. So I have clients that they did not know yet the results of the CBT. Doesn't matter, they still go already and prepare the case study. Now, why? Because if they are decided to go for the EPSO competitions, then now or later, they will use the case study, right? So they are preparing already. And for me, this is the test that you should do first, not the test, but the preparation that you should do first. Why? Because it is a lot of practice that would be good to put in it, so that when you are getting to the exam, you have already, let's say, you are almost in automatic pilot. So it's fundamental to have a lot of preparation, rehearsal on that. And that's why I would say, as soon as you can, take the case study masterclass and then go in the practice. So that is on Saturday. Then, again, it happened now lately, so we'll see how it goes. But for the DEFCO competition, they just announced the written test. And the written test is in the domain of competence, right? So the difference is that in the case study, which is a written test, right? The case study, it's a written test not in the domain of competence, where they will focus rather on EPSO competencies, right? So where you have to write a briefing to your boss, but the purpose is not to check your competencies in the domain, but to check your general competencies, right? So that is the case study. Nevertheless, they just published for the DEFCO competition the files for the written. And here it's a written, again, it's a written exam, but in the domain of competence. So that will be I don't see what is the completare.
Yeah, we have a question already. I want to ask if you would like to answer it now or we leave all at the end.
Well, I would say I will go as, because it might be that it's referring to something. So the talent screener, yeah, okay, yes, you have to have high scores in the talent screener in order to move to the next stage. But I would say this is like across all the tests, right? Every time you do some kind of test, like the talent screener, it's a way to select you. Then obviously you have to have high scores in order to move to the next test. So that's to keep in mind, it's a competition, right? We call them EPSO competition or EPSO exams, right? So obviously every time they test you, you have to have the highest scores. Obviously in your notice is written how many and, but every time obviously you have to be in that number in order to move to the next stage. So yes, the same applies for the talent screener, and the same will apply for CBT, the same will apply for E-Trade, the same will apply for whatever comes. So I was saying that the written test is different, and if this is the tendency, that it might be that they will have written tests in other exams, right? For the moment, I have seen only 2 with that new tendency, but it might be that it will stay. It might be that this is the tendency to stay. So then obviously, if so, then I will offer training in the written test according to the, let's say, the documents that you will receive for the written test. So these are the 2 written that I saw for the moment. Now, for very specific competitions, for example, you have translations, right? If it's a translation competition. So there are very specific competitions where you could add other tests, right? But obviously we are talking about these competition, and then you come back to me and probably we will prepare that in, how to say, in one-on-one, because would be probably quite difficult to get such a big number of people in that specific competition so that I can offer a training. For example, if we have, I don't know, translations, or if you have a lawyer linguist or some very specific competition where the written test is very specific. Because obviously the training that I offer are in general, so it's a case study that goes across the competitions, or written test that goes across the competitions. Now I go for the next, which is sometimes there is an oral presentation. Again, I'm trying to offer the training if, again, is relevant for a competition. Now, a lot of years, the oral presentation was a part of a test on the 85 competition. Lately, apparently, they didn't ask it anymore because they replaced it with something other test. Nevertheless, the oral presentation, I would say, probably I will offer it nevertheless, because it's a fundamental part of being an administrator or being working in the institutions. So it might be that it will come in the trainings as well. And then we are going for 3 interviews, right, which are coming now, and I think that they will be here to stay. That is, number 1, CBI, that means competence-based interview. And this is an interview to display, to show off the competencies that EPSO requires, that EPSO considers fundamental to be an administrator or to be a civil servant, right? So the competencies are 8, for the ADs, let's say 5, 6, 7, and so. And what we do is to go through the 8 competencies in order to create examples or to recall examples in your professional life to illustrate that you have these competencies. So this is the CBI. And then, as you could imagine, my clients are working to prepare these tables with example to present them properly. Because obviously it's a lot at stake, not only that you have the good example, the correct example, but then you present it in a way that is convincing, that you present it in a way that is, let's call it inspirational for your jury. So that's a competence-based interview. Now we go to field interview. Field interview, it's a specific interview for the domain of competence if you are in an expert competition, right? So that means an 86, for example, the last one, what do we have? 86 audit, or 86, we had DEFCO, I think that they had the field interview, 87 DEFCO, 89 DEFCO, they had field interview. Now, in the field interview, in theory, they go through the talent screener and they question all the examples of your professional life to test that indeed you are the specialist. You see, so it's very important, coming back to our, the first thing I said, that we will write together the documents. Now you understand why it's so fundamental that your documents are well written, are correctly, let's say, written, because at a certain point in the process, you will be, I say, forced, right, to defend that document. So, for example, all the stories that you put in the CV or in the motivation or in the talent screener certainly will come out in this field interview, or they will come out in the CBI interview. So at a certain point in the process, you have to defend what you said. And that's why, you know, I say to my clients, we all say, how is that the formula? I swear to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? That's the way we do the documents, because we don't want to be faced at a certain point in the process to, let's say, to be faced with defending them or explaining them. And obviously will be very embarrassing if they question whatever. I'm telling you that I had situations where, when my client came and said, I have now the field interview in front of me, and in the document I said this, and the truth is I don't have this experience. Gosh. I could tell you that's a very annoying situation. But so that's why it's better not to face it, and it's better to write the documents properly. And then when we are in the interview, then no worry. The only worry will be how to present your professional experience and not to defend a statement that you put there. So this is the field interview. And then we have another, which is the situational competence-based interview. So the situational interview, which is a very specific, it has not even 1 year. So we had 3-4 exams with the new situational exam, the new situational test, and which is in fact an interview, and where you will receive a file about 2 weeks in advance, sometimes more than that. And then you go in the interview with an assessor, and you have to defend, let's say, your position, your understanding of the file, the solution that you propose, the problem solving, the conflict resolution, the planning of the activities. So whatever that file has, you will have to show that you are a good professional and you know how to handle it. So that's why the situational, in fact, is a very good test. Tough, that depends on who you have on the other side. Because if you have on the other side someone who's really good, then the dialogue will be interesting, might be tough, but will be interesting. Whilst if you have on the other hand, on the other side of the table, someone who's not prepared or doesn't understand the file or doesn't give a damn on that exam, then will be more difficult to handle. In any case, this is what we have to, this is what we have to anticipate. A very tough assessor or a very weak assessor, and we have to be prepared for this or that, depending on what comes the D day. So this is the situational interview, and with that, let's hope that your assessment center finished and you are on the reserve list. Now you will say, so what's next? Well, next will be that obviously we'll have to jump immediately to find a job, to find a position, because it's not because you are in the reserve list that immediately, automatically, you receive a proposal. Some, yes, some others, no. So the next move will be to find a proposal. Statis asked, what about the group exercise? There is no group exercise anymore, at least for the EPSO competitions, is replaced with a situational competence-based interview. So with a situational, which it's a little bit similar, but it's not in a group as before, but it's in an interview with an assessor. So that's the main thing. There are competition. There are competitions, for example, now I have one in the parliament, I think, and they will have group exercise. So it might be that for some institutions, somewhere, you will find a group exercise. The EPSO competitions, let's say last year, they started with the situational interview. And it might be that this is the tendency, at least in the EPSO competitions. But I saw, as I said, in the other institutions, but I think that even in an agency, I think I prepared the client for the group exercise. So it might be that you could find in some institutions still the group exercise in function, but for the EPSO competition, they replace it for good with the situational. Good. So we said you are on the result list. Now we go for the finding a position, finding a job. For some clients is easy, for some it's less easy. And well, that's my philosophy, is better sooner is better than later. So let's go sooner, find a place, find a job, and start the, let's say, the new career. Now, talking about new, these are the new things that, so there are things, let's say, outside the EPSO competition that we will start to offer in September. And these are, let's say, tools for career development. So, number one, I think by mid-September, the first one will be career in the European institutions. So it's a training for newcomers, or people who are new in this environment, who don't know what's who's who and what's what. And this will be a training in order to help them understand, and might be to understand whether this is the right domain for them, or the right environment, working environment, career for them. So this is the first on offer. And then I will have career development groups, which is obviously is not necessarily because you are in the you are inside or outside the institutions. These career development groups, which refers to everybody who wants to, let's say, invest time and energy and effort in the career development. So this career development group will have themes that we will, let's say, take into consideration, like recruitment interview, which is obviously the first thing to do, like annual evaluation, because it's coming at the end of the year, so to know how you handle that with your superior. It's image management, it's fit for your career, relationship in the team. So there are a lot of themes, and obviously I'm open to take themes that are interesting to my clients, and the purpose or the idea, the frame is to support them in their career development. So this is, you will find it in the website, isn't that, Domi? It's on the website under new offers, right?
Yes,
and
the event is there, so we can subscribe from now on, from today.
Exactly. So this is the new products, which are, as I said, outside the EPSO competition and supporting you in the career development, whether you are looking for working in the institutions, or it's outside the institution, or let's say private companies, international institutions, whatever you think. Certainly this, let's say, it's training without being a training. It's more like a development group, a career development group, right? So that's why we'll take themes that are useful, but it's not only ex cathedra, you know, like giving you the training and chop. No, will be much more on the like coaching for career development. So which is obviously different from the other trainings, where I have to transfer a lot of knowledge so that you know how to handle your competition. So now I would say with that, I was about to finish the presentation of the EPSO exams, and then I'm ready for questions. The awkward moment where you are supposed to ask, you're supposed to use this opportunity to get live. So, let's see, difficulties in the cast. Right, now I would say how you have to understand let's say there is a logic, right, which is very simple. If your employer offers you a contract of 1 month, right, then he will be less tempted to invest a lot in your recruitment because it's only 1 month contract or 6 months contract, right? If your employer offers you 1 year contract or 3 years contract, then probably he will invest a little bit more time, energy, and money to select you. Do you follow me? And if your employer selects you for life, which is the case of civil servant, then obviously he will put much more effort into selecting you. Do you follow my logic? Therefore, the selection process for an intérimaire, right, it's lighter than the selection process for an, how to say, a contractual agent. And it's lighter than the selection process for EPSO competition. For the same logic, because they will have to pay your salary 1 year or 3 years or life. And then obviously, according to that, they consider whether the exam should be more difficult, more complex, bigger, and so, or less. Now, having said so, the contractual agent has almost the same process of selection like EPSO. The difficulty will be in the level of difficulty, in the level of, yes, so not the difficulty, the difference will be the level of difficulty. So you will have a CBT in the contractual and you will have a CBT in EPSO. The difference is that in EPSO it's more difficult, obviously. See that? So that's the point. So, or you have an interview in the agencies and then you have an interview where they put together the CBI, which are the competence general interview, and then they put questions on the domain of competence, right? So in one interview, you have the two aspects. Now, if you go for an EPSO competition, you will have 2 interviews, one for the competencies, CBI, and one for the field. Obviously, they want to be much more thorough because the contract is longer term. So that's the difference. It's not like say, Nicola asked me about the selection for specialist agency. Look, I cannot say like this from the top of my head, what is the process in that specific agency? What I said is that you will have probably a written test, might be a case study, or I don't think that they have 2, but okay, maximum will be that they will have a case study and the written test. I don't think it's too much there. Then you will have a general interview, and for me, you will have it combined with the field interview. You see, so whilst in EPSO, you will have 4 tests, right? 2 writtens, 2 orals. In an agency, you will have 2, 1 written and 1 oral. That's the difference, right? That's why when we are talking about preparing the selection process in the agencies or the cast, we put it in our website because it's the same thing. It's the same preparation that we offer for the EPSO. The difference will be that in an agency, probably the level of difficulty is lower. And in fact, what I'm saying to my clients not before, but do some cash selections just in order to practice exam. You see, do your training there. And again, do your training with other competitions, not necessarily the one that is perfect for you. Because if it's perfect for you and you have no training before, you have no, how do I call that, practice, it will be very difficult to know what to do. You see what I mean? Even though obviously I will train you seriously, but it's better to have other competitions 2 or 3 competitions before, so then you have already a feeling of how is it happening. So then by the time you get to your competition, which is the perfect competition to you, then you are trained, then you know what's happening, you see. So I would say go through these forecasts. You have to be invited. Well, you have to be invited, yes, but I would say you could still go and apply, right? Hopefully spontaneous application, and hopefully then they will call. Well, I would say one of the things that I found with my clients is that their CV was not good, right? So I have a client in mind, Stephanie, and she was on reserve list for UN, right? Nobody called her 1 year. And then she came to me kind of in desperation, you know, my reserve list expires and nobody called me. And I said, okay, let's rewrite the CV, you know, it's the same thing. You have 2 documents to show, the CV, the motivation letter, an application file, and so on. We rewrote that, and she sent spontaneous application to HRs of the UN, some 3-4 places that she wanted, Geneva, New York, and which one? And imagine, next day, she started to get calls. She was crazy. I can't believe that. Everybody wants me now. Everybody calls me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Right? So that's okay. That's a happy situation, right? You don't know where to say yes. And so that is what happened. And you know, so she is the living argument that the quality of the CV will determine, I would say, the fact that they call you or not. So if you are registering cast, never called, I would say we should rewrite the CV to practice for the verbal Greek version. Right, for the CBT, I would say it does not depend on the language, it does depend on the method. So rather, join me for the training in CBT, get the right method first, and then you practice. And
c'est beaucoup qui se changera avec le Covid, les rendez-vous s'annulèrent, reprennent, il y a beaucoup de changements.
Zlatimira, I think that you are on the microphone is on.
Je sais que vous êtes en congé maintenant.
Zlatimira, switch off the phone, switch off. Let's say, what do you say? This? Well, I asked her, but I don't know if I could. In theory, I could, right? Yes. Okay, so just to conclude with that, if you are on the reserve list or the cast list or so, and they didn't call, I would say, let's rewrite the CV, let's rewrite the motivation letter, and then send spontaneous application. I hope it will work. So.
We still have questions from Catherine.
Right, so what is if the specific timing? No, there is no specific timing. Say tips on revising the CV? No, there are no tips. It's a serious job. And there is no, how to say, quick and dirty advices. No, it's serious work. And as I said, this morning I was working with my client that he goes for a head of unit position. We rewrote the CV, and I'm telling you, we were working hard. And he said to me, I didn't expect to be so difficult to rewrite a CV. Now I see. And we were working together. You remember, he delivers the baby. I'm there to encourage. But my goodness, we worked together for that baby, which is the CV this morning, and it was really tough. And he was saying, I did not expect, I can't believe that it's so tough. But at the end, he was so happy with his CV. And obviously, we did the last check, which is compare his CV with the job description where he applies to be sure that he's relevant. And obviously he was very relevant. So that's the way. There is no shortcut. There is no quick tip. No, there is hard work. EPSO, low competition, September. Well, yes, I'm offering, I think, the trainings. You will have a case study, for example, Saturday, I have a case study which is relevant to the competition. Then I have a CBI who is relevant. Then I have an MCQ is relevant. So there is a lot of training relevant to the 85 law. So welcome, Stefan. And if we are done with that.
And we have Cornelia asking about the CBT.
Cornelia, yes, but I responded, right, Cornelia? I responded, yes. Get the method and then train in English to be sure that you have good quality material. Because I might, that Greek material is not good. And if it's not, the material is not good, you don't know whether you do well because you don't understand what the text is saying. You see, so that's the trick. So it's valid for Eva, for example. Yeah, imagine that Italian, right? When you do in, say, exotic languages like Greek or Italian or whatever, Slovenian or so, right? Keep in mind that the text on which you work, it might not be of quality. And if it's not on quality, then it's very tricky for you to assess whether you do well, because you don't understand what the text is saying. So that's why I would rather go for first, be sure that you have a good method. And second, practice with text in a very good language, which probably will be English, French, or German. That will be the high quality material. And if you do on high quality material, then you could really assess your ability. If the material is of poor quality, you have no clue what you're doing. It's, how to say, fighting in the dark, shooting in the dark. Good. So
I think Catherine has a extra question. She asked if she can start whenever.
You can start.
Apply.
So we can start me. What was the question?
No, like to apply for an EPSO competition. Whenever there is announced one, right? She can apply whenever it's.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good. So with that, obviously, I don't have question. It means that everything is clear. And I hope to see you soon for the trainings, for the individual sessions, for the live events, for whatever, around running in the park. Very good. Thank you very much.